So I rigged up the chassis with its motor mount and screwed the gear on the axle and pressed one of the wheels on temporarily with a paper shim. Yeah, to those of you who do double O gauge modelling, you'll recognise that as the way that the old Romford or Markets wheels were pressed onto their axles. And despite only having one wheel that is currently driven, it actually runs just fine. I'm genuinely in shock that it's working this well, because I thought it was going to be a pain in the arse. I've proven myself wrong. I quite enjoy it when I do that, because it means I might actually have some semblance of an idea on what I'm actually doing. Which, for the record, I don't. I literally have no idea what I'm doing. I just kind of slap random things together and it seems to work most of the time. So most of the wheels now have their, well, half the wheels exactly now have their cranks and counterweights on. And I suppose I might as well run through what I've actually done with this MacGyver contraption of mine. So, inside the two halves of the chassis block, it will focus at the motor, we'll get there eventually, mounted vertically because, well, that's the only place it's going to fit inside this tiny little body shell, which is also painted blue. And attached to that is the flywheel that I machined, which also serves as the Meccano worm wheel adapter, which then goes to a Meccano worm gear on the 3.9mm axle, which is the main drive. So that wheel is currently pressed on. You can see there's a bit of the paper shim sticking out there. And the rest of them are just free floating. With a couple of axles to space it out, and it does have a little bit of sideways movement. I really want to get my hands on some Gauge 1 track bends so that I can see whether I'm going to need to have sprung spacers or whether this will work just fine. But at the moment, that's basically what it does. And the way the motor is held in is just some styrene uprights and then basically a plastic Jubilee clip with a finger joint in the back so it's slightly more flexible, and a screw out of an old Nerf gun, because I've broken so many of those parts it's not funny. And by some sheer miracle, which I haven't quite worked out myself, this thing actually works. It is the largest chassis that I've ever built. It's the only chassis that I've ever built. And it actually works. I'm still in shock. If I just put the crocodile clips back on, give me a minute. Change the battery. This is only on 9 volts, by the way. So 12 volts will be even better. But it just flies down the rails. Absolutely flies. Away with the wind. Pick the thing up with one hand. It's absolutely brilliant. Could sit and do this all day, but that's not very productive. Oops. Probably needs brakes. Either that or a driver environment. Which I will probably get at some point, but yeah, it's alright for now. Yeah, I'm quite happy with how this is going so far. Another update that I have for this contraption that I've constructed. You will probably recognise this as the first eye mechanism that I made, which is the old parallelogram thing that they used on the pilot model, which, yeah, doesn't work very well. And as I discovered when I tried to fit the receiver, battery pack, motor and this in, it doesn't fit. So I have since replaced it with this monstrosity, which, when it's all assembled properly, makes an awful lot more sense. This antenna is annoying. Ah, good. Stay. There we go. Put that on there, and then hold that up that way-ish. Well, you get the idea. So that sits in the smoke box, and that sits just on the chassis rail. And if I can figure out how to hold this up, I will demonstrate. Give me a minute. Yeah, that'll do. No, kind of. Take this. Hold it. It's like, see, there's a little block of JB Weld in there now. Press this servo onto it. My hands are in the way of the camera. Like so. And then we shove the battery pack up in there along with the receiver. Abracadabra. Eye mechanism. Eventually. And then the chassis will also fit, but it's a bit of a pain, so give me a minute. And abracadabra. Everything now fits inside the body shell. Absolutely perfectly, if you can see down the smoke box. You probably can't because iPhone cameras are terrible. There we go. You can see the receiver just down there. Got the servos. And the battery pack is nestled just back there up against the motor. And you don't need this thing anymore. And if we're lucky, it might even work for us. Ooh, it'll obviously look even better with eyes, but you get the idea. So that is basically the current state of things. So I'll go out and paint it later today in its second coat of blue. And then after that, we try the black smoke box again. And if that all goes well, then we'll be onto the running board. After that, it's the lining. So this is coming along quite well, all things considered.